So there are three oceans according to the Veda. This is a telescopic view of the universe as the Vedic rishis could see, that there is one reality, but this reality at present is seen at three levels. The superconscient level, the conscious level, and the inconscient level. There are three oceans. The word uses samudra or arnava. This is a word which is commonly available in the Vedic literature, arnavaha, samudraha. Sometimes the word Sindhu is also used for the same purpose. This analogy of the word ocean, samudra, arnava, Sindhu is a very important word, and Sri Aurobindo gives a great importance to this word. It is one of the symbolic words of the Vedic language. Now these three oceans, as Sri Aurobindo says, the Vedic rishis had plummeted into all the three oceans. This is the tribute that Sri Aurobindo pays to the Vedic rishis. What was their knowledge? They had understood what is the inconscient, what is the whole world of the conscious, and what is the superconscient. And the Veda contains the knowledge of all the three planes, the inconscient, the conscient, and the superconscient. This is the body of the knowledge that we find in the Veda. If you see the Nasadiya Sukta, in which you are told that in the beginning there was only the darkness, which was also shrouded by darkness. Tamas was avrita by tamas. That is the inconscient. In the Western psychology, the discovery of the subconscious is a recent discovery. There was no belief there is something like unconscious or subconscious. It is only recently, from Freud's time onwards, that some idea of unconscious was found. Sri Aurobindo calls it ABC of the subconscious. What Freud has understood is only ABC. Subconscious is a very, very deep tamas, shrouded by tamas. That is Vedic knowledge, whether you like it or not, know it, we accept it or not. But this is the description given in the Veda itself. As a text, just to be able to expound Vedic knowledge truly, you have to say that there is, according to the Veda, a state of darkness which is shrouded in darkness. You may like it, you may not like it, you may agree with it, you may not agree with it, doesn't matter. But this is what Veda says, that there is. If you look at it from the highest point of view and look down, you find an ocean of unconsciousness. Now you find in this unconsciousness somebody at work. And this is the whole secret of Agni. What is Agni? You find that Vedic rishis found that in this darkness there is one God. All the gods are not there. This is also a very important idea in the Veda. In this particular inconscient, the one God which is active is Agni. This is a discovery of the Vedic rishis. How it happened, how it came about is another story. That also knowledge is given there. But to start with, this is the first revelation, as it were, that Agni is first of all to be found in the darkness that is shrouded in darkness. Therefore, Agni is supposed to be the god of the earth in the physical consciousness. This is a famous statement in the Veda. You find out from many, many statements of the Veda that Agni is the worker of the earth. But this is not all. Agni has also Swamdamam. This is also a very important expression in the Veda. It has its own house. Rajantam, in the very first hymn, Svedame, that which becomes absolutely effulgent in his own home. So, although Agni is to be found working as a laborer in the unconscious, in the earth consciousness, its own home is very high in the supreme levels of consciousness. Is it not a fact that the gods discovered that Agni in the waters? Now this is another enigmatic statement of the Veda. This is where you need to interpret. The gods saw it in the waters. What is the word water? Water, does it mean what? It is that which is working in the unconscious, in the earth. It is that which is found in the waters by the gods. There must be some story about it. When did these gods come to see it in the waters? And what are the waters? Sri Aurobindo therefore describes, he has gone into the depth of this matter, what is the analogical meaning of the word waters? Because this word comes very often. In the Veda there is a description of, or at least a reference to 7 rivers. And the Western thinkers reading the Veda, they say these 7 rivers must be 7 rivers of Punjab. Because Vedic rishis were living in Punjab and some other adjoining areas, and they described Jhelum and Chenab and Sindhu and Saraswati and all that. These were the rivers, and they are described in the Veda, 7 rivers. Sri Aurobindo contradicts this idea. That the 7 rivers which are described in the Veda, if you read what is the exact description of them, you will find that these 7 rivers are connected with many other analogies. 7 forces, 7 mares, Ashwaha, Sapta Ashwaha. And 7 Agnis, 7 fires. The word 7 is not referred only to rivers. The word 7 is a very symbolic term in the Veda. And Sri Aurobindo has gone into it. What is this 7? It's a symbolic word. If you want to describe the whole of reality, it can be described as 7. The reality which is 1, which is 2, is also 7. This is another enigmatic statement of the Veda. The reality which is 1, which is 2, is also 7. And therefore, the energies of reality, which is manifest at 7 levels, is 7 rivers. River is a very constant image in the Veda which refers to movement of energy. And therefore, in the psychological interpretation of the Veda, wherever the word 7 comes, it has reference to 7 planes of existence. The original home of Agni is not in the unconscious. It is not the earth, original home. Original home of the Agni is in the Svedame, in the highest one, where it brightens up and rises up to its highest level. It is something which has been brought down, and this is a story in the Veda. There is one hymn in which the Agni is complaining and says to gods, I was brought down here. I did not know what was the task which was given to me. I was brought down here. Very difficult task. Now, what is the task that has been given to Agni, which is so difficult? This is a great knowledge given in the Veda. It's a body of knowledge, and all the epithets which are given to Agni are to be read. And Sri Aurobindo has done a great service that all the hymns to Agni he has translated to English. All the hymns which have been addressed to Agni at least, he has made a full collection of all the hymns addressed to Agni in the Rig Veda, and he has translated them into English, so that in the psychological sense, not in the ritualistic sense, but in the psychological sense, so that we have now a body of knowledge which gives us the psychological understanding of Agni. Now, some of the epithets which are given to Agni are the following. Agni is, of course, known to be Purohita. He is Hota. He is Ritvik. He is supposed to be the workers who brings out Aushadhis from the earth. He is the one who brings out of the Aushadhis all the living creatures which are in the world. That is why he is called Jataveda. He is another epithet of Agni. Agni is Jataveda. All that is here in this manifested universe, not only on the earth. The word earth in Veda does not refer only to planet Earth. It refers to all physical manifestation. Prithvi. Prithvi is from the point of view of the physical principle. All that is physical, all the stars, whatever is physical, is Prithvi in the idea of the Veda. And Agni is a worker in Prithvi and brings out of the Prithvi, as it were, extracts from the earth something that is hidden in the earth. That is to say, inconscient is a womb. And from the womb he gives everything, and all that has come out is called Jataveda. And therefore is Jataveda. He knows everything that is Jata, everything that is birth, that is born here, is known to him. In fact, as we know in the Kena Upanishad, there is a story of the three gods, Agni, Vayu and Indra. And these three gods have become victorious, and then the supreme reality comes and manifests and puts a straw of the grass and says, now tell me what it is. And Agni moves forward first and says that there is nothing in the world which I do not know, because I have brought out everything. I am the bringer out of everything, so I must know what it is. And he goes there and finds he doesn't know it. The one thing which he does not know, the supreme reality at the level of the earth, he does not know, because he has not brought out supreme reality out of the earth. Vayu also is not able, Indra also doesn't know. But among the three gods, Indra does not stop by saying, I do not know. He moves forward and finds out what? He moves forward and finds out Uma. Uma Hemavati. Now what is Uma? What is Hemavati? Is also symbolic. Uma is the other one who is the same as the one. He is Parvati, he is Shiva Shakti, he is a Shakti. So he approaches the Supreme Shakti, who is one with the Supreme. And therefore Shakti tells him that that Yaksham is that reality, is the Supreme Lord. That is why Kena Upanishad says that because of that reason, Indra knows the Supreme reality the best. Because he found out, he went up to Uma, and from her he got this knowledge. Now this idea, Hemavati, is absolutely that which is white, supreme knowledge, supreme. There is no spot in her. Spot